Hello, everybody. Welcome to your very favorite Spider-Man podcast. Here comes the Spider-Cast. I am your co-host, Mike L, and as always, I'm joined by
Joshua Mervell, and today we're going to be taking a look at Spidey comics from September of 1985.
That's right, and we are joined by regular guest co-hosts G.I. Jolie.
Hi.
And Bex Luthor.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy.
Sorry, Luthor. I should say it correctly. Luthor.
Yeah, God forbid you mispronounce my
Right.
name. Almost swore immediately.
And then we have a very special guest. This is a guest from We Met You Through the Nerdy Book Club at Detroit Comics many, many years ago. And you're a big comic book fan and a big movie buff. And this is Michelle Kistner. Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining
Welcome
us.
to the show, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, tell us quickly. So, you are a big comic book reader, right?
Yes.
And like, what are some of your favorite comic books? And like, when did you start reading and all that kind of stuff?
So I started reading comics probably when I was maybe 8 or 10 or so,
Okay.
and then I used to get allowance and just buy whatever was on the magazine rack at the time and just take them home. So obviously it would be all out of order and whenever I had money. But when I was a teenager, then I had my own money, so I could get trades and actually buy comics and get pulls, when they were actually coming out. Most of my favorite stuff tends to be the kind of edgier, darker stuff. I like Vertigo. My favorite writers are Alan Moore, Grant Morrison. Stuff like that. So I tend to be I guess you could say pretentious. I don't think I am, but but whenever I name these people, that's the reaction I get. Oh, you like the pretentious comics, I guess. But I just like the really interesting, more out there stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you ask Becca, she'll say I'm pretentious too. So I like all those writers. But anyway.
Why do you think I hate you?
So anyway, now what about 80s?
Because I do.
Yeah. What about 80s comics, Michelle? Have you read much 80s comics, like Spidey and stuff like that?
Yeah, I actually started going through them because they had those. What are those? Those Marvel Essentials with
Right.
They just have giant chunks of runs
Right.
in a place. But a lot of times some of them are black and white, which isn't the best because these comics aren't made so much for black and white like manga is, But
Right.
but it's a great way to cheaply get just huge runs of stuff. So I was going through all kinds of stuff. Actually I just bought, they put a nice omnibus out for Lady Hulk. I'm saying her name wrong, but
She-Hulk.
She-Hulk, yes. She-Hulk.
Nice.
So I'm actually catching up on the 80s She-Hulk stuff because all that stuff was hard to get. It was all out of print forever and really expensive.
Right.
So yeah, I've been going through a lot of older stuff that way, just buying these huge trades and just going through them that way.
Awesome. I love doing that too. I love that with Essentials and with digital. I just go crazy on digital now. On Marvel Unlimited and stuff like that. But okay, and then what about also we have to mention that you are a writer for the review site, The Movie Sleuth.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so how did you get involved with that?
Well, actually, it was kind of random. The owner of the site, Chris George, was just hey, I'm looking for a writer. And then I was I wonder if I could write reviews. Cause I actually, played around with writing before that. I was writing, short stories and stuff. But I also have been a movie buff for most of my life. So I was oh, what if I just wrote a review and see what happens? So I just, wrote a review and sent it to him. He's wow, this is great. I was oh. And he's do you want to write first? And I was okay. And then I just kept doing it, and I've been writing for maybe 7 years or so, and then I got enough of a readership to where I was I'm on Rotten Tomatoes critic now, and I'm in the Detroit Film Critics Society and all this other stuff. So I actually got good enough at it to get a little prestige from it, and then I get screeners and all that kind of stuff now. But
That's awesome.
It's actually just it's weirdly just a side hobby for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because you cannot make money from doing this, at all. I don't, people always say, critics get, paid off. Well, they don't.
Right.
I'd like to know how, because they always paid me off.
Where's all these money bags, Marvel's gonna give me to, pad the reviews? Because I haven't seen a dime of it.
Right.
It's honestly something, it's very hard to make a living in journalism in general, and especially movie reviews because it's like a very saturated, career now. So I just do it for fun and like I get screeners and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of perks, but not very much. But it's just mostly like for fun because I love movies and I love writing.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
So, you know, my favorite thing about what you do is the alarming amount of like trash. I think what you refer to as trashterpiece theater.
Right.
But those gatekeepers are all over your shit. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate side effect of being like a female on the internet is like it's interesting that I have to be like 5 times as good as a male writer to be considered as good as that male writer, and people don't understand like how much research I do behind the scenes of like everything I write. I literally research it for hours and hours and hours because if I get the smallest detail wrong, like it will invalidate everything I've ever written, and like guys are waiting like vultures to like pick apart my stuff.
Jeez.
It's pretty crazy. Like I'm kind of used to it now. But and every time I write a review, I always have to like re-explain the fact that like this isn't the first movie I've ever seen, and and when I write about comic book films, it's especially bad. I have to be like literally take a picture of my face next to the comic, like I have it, I've read it, I looked at it, please. I'm qualified to write about this. It's annoying to be honest, and it's never gotten better. It's been terrible the whole time.
Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah.
Terrible the whole time, if not worse. But you know what? We're really glad you do it because you're really good at it. So.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So let's talk. Oh, Becca, were you gonna say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say, reading you sassing dude bros on the internet is my favorite thing. Like I know we haven't talked much, but following you, and it just brings joy to my day every day. I just want you to know that.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan.
It's funny because they literally think I don't know anything, so like I can just dunk on them so easily and like with so little effort that I just like it's just like I just throw them aside like toys. Like okay, like I literally own like the VHS of this, and like I have like the original copy signed by the guy. Like it's just so easy, and they all fall for it like every time. But it's the internet for you.
I love that. Like I've been accused of being like a fake Star Wars fan and like a fake comic book fan. Like, do you know who I am? You know what I mean? Come on.
Yeah.
You need to read more comic books. No, I actually don't. Trust me, I don't.
I don't. Please take them away from me.
Yeah, exactly.
I have no money.
I'm running out of room. Can you come get a box? Thanks.
Right. So obviously, there's a couple things I want to talk about quickly before we jump into Spidey. So Oscars are coming up. I don't really have much, I don't care that much about the Oscars, but I watch them every year. Can you tell us what your pick is so far for the best movie of 2020?
My personal favorite was actually Possessor, but it's like a genre like horror film, so it didn't get nominated for anything. But out of the nominees, I really like Nomad Land.
Which I haven't seen. Okay.
It's absolutely beautiful, and it's kind of unfortunate that the film, because of the pandemic, it had just a very weird online festival run where like it was hard to watch it. I got a screener, but the majority of the general audience just couldn't see this film forever. It was just hard to watch. So it's just a beautiful film, and I'm loving seeing like Asian and female directors getting like their time in spotlight, because I know people like to talk about Oscars or woke. I'm doing air quotes, you can't see them, but I mean they're just like literally like saying they're woke because they're just acknowledging that women and like black people and Asians and like other races exist. So therefore it's woke because they're actually getting like recognized for the work they're doing, and there's so many people that are. And that actually was a good thing about the pandemic. One of the only good things was all the movies were kind of on a level playing field, as far as campaigning wise and stuff. So like these smaller films actually were getting a lot more play because they didn't have to compete with the other big movies and their pushes. So it but it's weird that the Oscars kind of still panned out similar that they do most years. So maybe that didn't affect as much as I thought, but. It was just an interesting movie year.
Very, yeah. I'm actually, to be honest, there's been a lot of really good ones. Like, every movie I've watched that's been nominated has been better than the last one, so I'm really impressed. But one more question before we jump into Spidey, because this is what, apparently according to Facebook and Twitter, this is what everyone in the world is talking about. What is your 30-second review of the Snyder Cut of Justice League.
When I watched the original, I could tell it had been highly tampered with. I could see like reshoots and all that stuff, and it was just, I could just tell that was not an original vision of anybody. And when I watched the Snyder Cut, I think it's way better. I actually think it's one of Zack Snyder's best films.
Yes.
I also think, though, I think it's too long. But but if you tell somebody, hey, you can do the cut you always wanted, of course he's going to make it 4 hours, because what director wouldn't want all their stuff in there? So I think it had the movie Zack Snyder intended to come out, then been made, it would have been trimmed, obviously, down to probably 3. And I think he would have had, I think that would have been a fantastic jumping point for more DC movies to come from that, because there's some great lore in there, great character arcs, like Cyborg. It was a Cyborg movie, and Josh Whedon just cut it out. Like, he's the entire heart of the film, and he was gone, and he came back, and I was like, actually, like, moved to tears a couple of times about like this great character arc that we lost, and we could have had a Cyborg spin-off. I see why he was mad. Like, Ray Fisher, I know why he's mad, because he saw that joint like, no, y'all cut me out of this whole movie. So, but I think it's good. I think it's too long, but that's just because of the format, you know. Sure. It's an extended cut, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Haha, suck it, Mike.
Hey,
she's a professional.
I knew that was coming, and I still asked her. So props to Mike. All right, okay. So now we're gonna jump to Spidey. We're gonna talk about Spider-Man from September 1985, and we're gonna start off with part 1 of a 2-part crossover. This story was set up last month or last week in Spider-Cast time by Secret Wars 2, number, what was it, 2, I think? Where the Beyonder turns a building into pure gold and then just pieces out. And then here we have the people of New York as well as Spider-Man to pick up the pieces. And Josh, you can take it from here.
Right. So we kind of see the Kingpin starting out. Like, he right away jumps into this situation trying to, take as much gold as he possibly can for himself. So he kind of takes his goons and calls somebody high up in the government and kind of blackmails them into letting Kingpin help. And it's both kind of like Kingpin wants the gold, but also there's like this big thing happening in his city. So he wants to make sure that it's taken care of right away. So we also see this kind of weird moment with MJ where she's kind of reflecting on her life and how she really wants to settle down now and have kids, which is like complete stark contrast of the last story we got with her on Spider-Cast, where she completely disavowed having kids and a family because of problems with her sister. And then we kind of get a little bit of a recap of what happened in Secret Wars, and then we jump right into the action with Spidey helping out a bunch of civilians who are trapped in this like completely golden tower. Because gold is not a very like structurally stable material, everything is kind of collapsed on itself, not in like a liquid gold kind of way, but just it's brittle and malleable. So the weight of the entire building has kind of made everything collapse. So there's tons of people that are trapped and pinned inside, and he's there to kind of help them out. And we get this like weird mini montage in between of like just what civilians are seeing and their reaction to everything. Like, we see this date, this couple on a roof, and they go up to the roof for a nightcap and they see the destruction. They're like, oof, I thought this was going to be a nice night, but I don't want to look at this giant gold building. They walk away. The two drunk drivers crash into each other and vow never to drink and drive again and decide to go on their way. And then we kind of finish things off with these two goons who also want to capitalize on this like gold that has fallen all over New York. So that kind of leads into the Kingpin trying to like weasel his way into getting a piece of the pie, and that's when we're introduced to Charles Anderson, which I am not familiar with in the comics. I don't know if this is a previously established character or if this is just like agent created for this book. But he is there, and he's like high up in the government, and he takes over this this whole situation. So he tries to stop Spider-Man, but he realizes that Spider-Man can help, even though he considers him a menace. So he allows him to go in and help the civilians that are trapped. After that, we get a little bit of a tidbit with Aunt May, and she's also still worrying about money troubles, which kind of leads back into where things finish up in the story, where Peter decides to go back and take a piece of gold. It's like a notebook that turned into gold. He decides to take it with him after everything is done, after he realizes that the Kingpin is behind all this and is profiting off of the gold that is being taken. Like he's being paid off with millions of dollars worth of golden typewriters. So Peter decides he's had enough, and he finally takes what he deserves and steals a notebook, and that's where we finish things off with him swinging away from the event once everyone's been saved.
Right, and so first thing is everyone in the world agrees Secret Wars 2 is crap.
Yeah.
However, one thing people concede is some of the crossovers for Secret Wars 2 were good. I personally think this is a good one. I really like the idea of Peter Parker being confronted with the idea of, he can take this notebook. It can solve his financial problems. So there's the morality question. There's also the whole thing about, the economy of the world and blah, 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 and the Kingpin. So I think this is a really cool idea. I'm not going to say that the execution is perfect, but I certainly think it's a great idea, and I like the fact that it's a crossover between two issues. So we can talk about the art in a minute because the art is done by different people. But overall, I think this was a pretty good issue. But Michelle, would you care to jump in and do your review and give us your impression of what you thought of this issue of Web of Spider-Man?
I thought the premise was pretty interesting. I was like, the Beyonder is like such a funny character to me. Like, I don't know, he's just hilariously pompous, and he just and he also just rolls in and does stuff and dips out. So he's just like, oh, hey, I'm here, guys. Oh, Golden Building. Well, see you guys later. And then they're all like dealing with that. And also kind of funny, like he zapped in Power Man or somebody in Iron Fist. And somebody,
right.
And then that guy just was like, "Oh yeah, you should probably get into money, bro. Money's like hot on the streets right now." And then he was like, and then he just left.
Right. Yeah. He's like, "Brad, cash, Gap. With this, you can get yourself just about anything. Without it, you got Jack." Anyway.
Yeah, Beyonder's like, "Yeah," and it's Solgo Building, and he's like, "Well, see it." And then I always like the idea of like Spider-Man and Peter Parker like being poor and not having enough money, because they don't really do that in the movies, but it's such an endearing part of his character that he's like constantly trying to scrape together money for his rent, his parent, for Aunt May and everybody. And I love that he's kind of like upset that he does all the superhero stuff, and he's kind of struggling with the idea of like he doesn't really get compensated for it monetarily. He just gets compensated for it by like just doing the right thing. It's like it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting to see him struggle with the idea that like, and it's also like a cool like kind of grounding thing to the real world that he needs money to live, and they don't really address that with a lot of other characters in comic books. And so he's kind of torn between doing the right thing and saying, hey, maybe I could take a little piece of the pie for myself. But that also puts him in the same realm as Kingpin, because Kingpin's doing the same thing. Right? Mm-hmm. Just on a grander scale. So is he like just as bad as Kingpin for doing it on a smaller scale? Like he's kind of like really like looking inwards on himself. I mean, as goofy as the premise is like on paper, like in execution, it's actually a lot deeper and more interesting, and it gives you like a good, window inside of like Peter Parker's struggles with Hero and like his real life kind of clashing together.
Right.
Yeah.
Josh, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I love that we don't have Spider-Man punching anybody this issue.
Exactly.
It's fantastic. I'm so excited that he didn't throw one punch. I think this might be the first issue where he hasn't actually punched somebody. Like even the ones where it's like a slower story and it's more of a character study, it usually starts off with him like stopping a bank robbery and then we get into the like regular story.
Right.
This one is very nice. Like he's using his powers to be a hero to help civilians, and that's the entire thing. I love that he's literally sifting through gold to save people as well. He's struggling so much, and he's still like pushing all of this, literally pushing gold off to the side to help other people.
Right. Yep. Good point.
And I think that's why at the end I was kind of like, yeah, take the Notebook. Mm-hmm. Are you kidding me? Like, take the Notebook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's ridiculous. Like the amount of like shit that he goes through on a daily basis, and he still, does what he does. I don't think I could do that. Like as much as I think I'd like to, hold myself to that standard. I don't think I think I would take a Notebook too.
Right.
Which
is a valid point. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'd be tempted as well. And he probably is expressing exactly what we all think about, this type of situation at one point or another. But G.I. Jolie, I want to know, what did you think of this issue?
There is a box of packing peanuts that he is just like sitting there counting while he contemplates the idea that like they're packing peanuts, but they're gold. He moved like the people who should be helping him help other people. He rescued from underneath a solid gold palm tree. Like, where did that even come from? But it's insane. Everything that's happening. The two drunk drivers, like,
yeah.
There's a lot in this issue that I'm like, whoa boy. But this also is like one of the greatest stories I've read so far.
Right.
Because it's like a lot of great morality examination.
Right.
I would have taken a handful of packing peanuts because they're packing peanuts, but they're gold. So it's like, it's not, to me, it wouldn't have been a rough call, especially if I was him. And he rationalized it too, while he was sitting there, just kind of sifting through them, that he was like, I'm helping and I do this for free. I don't need to be here doing this. And I don't need to do what I do every day. And it adds to my poverty because I'm not dedicated like 100% to taking photos for the newspaper. Mm-hmm. Like I could be taking photos and making money, but instead I've been gifted these powers and I've decided to be super and a hero. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to take this one notebook. It's like, no, I should take it. And then he's like, no, I won't take it. It's like, no, take it. What are you doing? Like, the world owes you more than this. Take the palm tree. Take a pocket full of peanuts. Right. No one will notice. Like the idea, once he got upset that he heard about the Kingpin not only being paid off with golden typewriters, but in some way he was also, they were taking the gold and dumping it in the sea. The Kingpin was like, I think it's in this issue or maybe it's the next issue.
I think it's the next one.
Okay. Well, I mean, we find out later that he is like double profiting from this whole golden building escapade. So it's like, Peter, take 3 notebooks. Like, take all of the trash in the garbage can. Like, it's gold. Take it. Your aunt needs it. You definitely need it. Like, like, thank you for your service, sir.
And I think too, because it's like, it's theft that is like in no consequence to anyone.
Victimless.
So, right. It's a victimless crime. So it really feels like I don't know, like it's completely totally okay to do. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we want to feel as the reader, right? Like we want this character to finally get some justice and for something right to happen to him. So yeah, I was like rooting for him to take something.
Yeah, like I'm not sure how he would turn that. Like, do you bring the notebook into the bank? I don't know.
Right.
He even says something to that effect. Like at the end, Peter Parker is like, he's like, I don't even know where to take this to get the money.
Yeah, like the whole scene where he stops the guy from taking his own office supplies that has turned into gold. That seemed strange to me too. Mm-hmm. That it was like they were his. Though technically, they're still his things. They're just solid gold now, which is a plus in my opinion. But if it tanks the economy, I don't know how it will. Like this small pair of scissors, this staple remover, like they're not that big. They can't possibly be made out of like that much gold. I don't know. Well, like, is your economy so fragile that these things being traded for money will just cause the dive? I'm not sure.
Yes, trust me. I don't know how this works, but this is how it works. Bex Luthor, tell us what you... Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, wait till they tell him like none of this gold matters because it's all Bitcoin from here on out, baby.
There you go.
Yeah, they just drop it in the sea, eh? That's pretty funny.
Well, we haven't gotten to that one yet. Hold on.
Sorry. Yeah. No, but I love how, like Jolie was saying, that it was just so weird, and I love that about it. It's just so campy and could only happen in a comic book, really. Like if the MCU is like, let's do this story, and we'll make the building solid gold, everyone would be like, what the hell is this? It only really works on the page, and I really, really love that about it. It's charming, and I like that he doesn't punch anybody. For God's sakes, Peter, you don't have to answer every question with your fists.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that Fisk is in it again. Like, good for him, coming back, get those gold typewriters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it was a good story, and take the Notebook, Peter. I'm on team take the Notebook. I'm actually on team take something less conspicuous so that you could actually do something with it. Because, like, what do you do with the Notebook?
Good point.
Like, those packing peanuts are just gold spheres, right?
Mm-hmm. Probably easier to trade on the black market, right?
They're like doubloons.
Right.
On the black market, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, trading gold on the black market.
Okay, so we still have part 2 to talk about, so we can talk about the whole story in a minute, but let's briefly talk about the art in this issue because it was laid out by Mike Harris, and it was finished by Mike Zeck, Bob Layton, someone Sammons, I'm not sure who that is, and Jim Mooney. So even if you just go to that opening page, let's be clear, Mike Zeck is one of the frickin' best superhero artists of the goddamn 80s. He's so frickin' good. I loved some of the art in here. Some of it was inconsistent, but does anyone have a page or a panel they'd like to talk about? Because I thought the art was pretty good. Inconsistent again, but I thought it was pretty good overall. But maybe no one does. Maybe no one does except me. Okay. I guess
you can stop talking for me to cut in. Yes.
No, I'm waiting.
Yeah, we can just cut you off.
I gave you a half a second, Jolie. There you go. Jump in.
Oh, page 16.
Oh yeah, that's the one I'm looking at. 16. Yeah. Who now? Do we know who did this page? I'm assuming Jim Mooney, but you know?
No, I have no idea. I can't tell the difference. I just know that it's like the best page in the book, in my opinion.
Really good, yeah.
Other than the weird little drunk driving story tale, which was, to be honest, it was like my favorite part of the whole like Marvel's-esque type storytelling in the book. I was like, oh, okay. We're just two guys, two strangers coming together because we drove drunk. We won't tell a soul because this shit that's happening right now is weirder. Whatever. But, like, there's a dead body. He's dead.
Yeah.
He says it. One life is beyond saving. It's like, which one is dead? The kid or the guy?
Things
The
are
guy?
different.
Yeah, I can't even tell because everyone's knocked out, and it's like the camp of of an entire building made of gold is rendered less funny by death. Like, it's pretty serious what's happening in this book, and like I'm having a hard time keeping a straight face because the building's made out of solid gold, but there's dead people. So
Well, here's the thing. We have to point out quickly that Jim Owsley only took over as editor, like, I think with around the time Web of Spider-Man started. So in my opinion, things have gotten more realistic and a little bit darker under his reign. I also have to point out Jim Owsley was only 25 when he was the editor of Spider-Man at this time. So this was his first assignment as editor, and they gave him the most popular character on the whole company. I'm not sure what they were thinking, but it ended up, producing some really good comics. So yeah, and for those that don't know, we have to remind everyone, Jim Owsley ended up changing his name to Christopher Priest later on. So Christopher Priest was bigger in the 90s and 2000s and stuff. So if you don't know, he wrote Black Panther and stuff like that. But anyway.
Why did he change his name?
You know what's funny? He will never... Apparently he refuses to reveal why.
Huh.
I have no idea. My guess is it might have something to do with maybe like... maybe his parents, like, whatever. Mother's maiden name or something like that. But I have no idea. No one actually knows. But he changed his name. So,
Just for the drama of it all.
Right. And Jim Owsley also, he worked on Batman. He worked on, I can't remember what else now. I'm drawing a blank here. But yeah, so he's been around, for a long time. But yeah, like I said, at this time, he was only 25 years old. He was editing Spider-Man. And there was definitely a tonal shift around this time that we're reviewing right now. So, and I think it was for the better. So, and I also want to quickly reiterate it because I already said it once, but I'll say it again. The opening pages by Mike Zeck. Awesome. But anyway, we'll leave it at that. Now we're going to jump. Okay, so, by the way, I forgot to say, so obviously I recommend this issue. Michelle, do you recommend this comic?
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Awesome. Josh, do you recommend this comic?
Yes, I would definitely recommend this comic. It was pretty good. I will say, too. Okay, so I did some math. In September of 1985, gold was $784 an ounce. And if the average notebook weighs about 15 ounces, so that notebook, if it's worth its weight in gold, it would be $11,760.
Wow.
So that's
Here, take the notebook.
yeah, it's an $11,000 notebook.
In 1980 too, or 1985.
Yeah, even more. Okay, interesting. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what's that adjusted for inflation? Quick, do the math.
Oh, God. Let me see if I can find, like, an inflation calculator.
Okay, while you're doing that, Julie, do you recommend this comic?
Yeah, I also recommend not reading anything before this because they give you enough backstory about the Beyonder turning the building into gold that it's really all you need.
Right. You don't need to read Secret Wars. That's the point of the story, right?
Correct.
All right. Bex Luthor.
I'm so glad we read Secret Wars then.
Anyway. Bex Luthor.
That is me.
Do you recommend it?
Yes. No, yeah, definitely, absolutely. It's. I'm really, really enjoying Web of. It somehow made the stupid thing that happened in Secret Wars, like, make sense in continuity-wise, which, congratulations. There was a lot more competent people working on this than there was on Secret Wars, clearly.
Right.
And they actually knew what to do with the story. They don't know what to do with Mary Jane, though, which is a problem, I think. They didn't know what to do with Black Cat near the end, either, of the last one. So, We'll see. She wants kids now. She doesn't. Who knows? Just skip that one page with her, and then you're good.
All right. Okay. So now we're going to jump to part 2 of the story, Amazing Spider-Man 268. Now, the first thing I want to point out is that I posted this on a Facebook page, and apparently there's a whole bunch of readers from 1985 that did not realize this, but what do you guys think about the connecting covers?
Love it.
Yeah. So cool, eh? And apparently a lot of people that read these stories when they were kids didn't realize they connected, so I don't know. I mean, I thought it was obvious. But anyway, yeah, I love covers that connect. And then I Googled it, and apparently there's not as many from the 80s as I thought. There's only like 3. But anyway, that's a really cool concept. One, he's got his red costume. One, he's got his black costume. Blah, blah, blah. They connect. Not quite exactly, but it's okay. Good idea.
I also love that. I think this is also the first time where 2 stories have connected in a month.
Yeah, you're
from different
right.
from different story. There's obviously been like some things that carry over, but this feels like a direct part 2.
You're right.
And normally they don't connect at all, and you don't have to read one or the other. Sometimes they don't even actually make sense if you read them
they contradict each other. Exactly.
Right. Also, I did a little bit of math. It would be 144% increase.
Jesus.
So it would that notebook today would be worth $28,745. Yeah, so that's a pretty darn good notebook, I'd say.
So Peter, take the notebook, invest it in Bitcoin.
There you go. I was gonna say. All right. So now
or Dogecoin. Pick your coin,
yeah,
really.
I can't keep track. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about this issue.
Right. Sorry.
Who's summarizing Amazing again? I can't remember.
Was it me?
Becca.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Probably.
Bex Luthor. Tell us. This gold is mine. What's the deal?
Yeah. So I immediately was like, the dual covers was pretty dope. Like, I'm a big fan of that stuff. My partner collects variant covers and all that stuff, so I'm always keeping my eye out for anything like that. But the comic starts off and it's like mid what's going on before, right? But this time it's the civilians outside, and the guy who owns the building is complaining about the fact that his building is gold and they won't let him see it, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course... a little bit of a recap with the Beyonder in there and Kingpin getting his golden typewriters. And then we have Peter, and he goes back home and he's upset about his money troubles and realizes that the news isn't really talking about what's actually going on, like they're covering it up. And then we switch back to like the military, and you've got this one guy who I thought was going to be more important later in the issue, but isn't, like questioning this Charles Anderson guy's like what he's doing.
Right.
And then they're just chopping the gold up. They put it on the boat. They're sending like plates of stuff to guard over it and all that fun military jazz. And then this one, I love this. There's like 2 pages of this guy faxing the location of where the gold is being dropped to give to this other guy to give to Kingpin. And he's like, I found it, sir. And Kingpin's like, I already knew that. And they're like, well, why did you make me do that? All of that. But then we switch back to Peter, and he's at the Bugle, and Jonah's freaking out, as he was wont to do, about the fact that nobody can get pictures of this building because it's literally being sealed off by the military. And not even Peter can get pictures of it, so he goes to check out what's going on, and they're almost done, like, taking the complete building down. Sorry, I'm just scrolling. And then, so Peter follows the boat, like the truck with the shipment, to go onto the boat to see... because he's still under the assumption that the government is working with Kingpin. And then when he climbs on this boat, he finds out that that's not the case. They were just paying him off with the golden typewriters, and then the rest of the gold is going to be buried into the depths of the sea as to not provoke an economic depression, I guess. But it turns out that Kingpin, he took over one of the ships, and he put his own men on there. And the smartest, like, regular officer in the whole world is like, Navy soldiers don't wear Argyle socks and Italian shoes. That's weird. And then the other guy's like, shut up, get back to work. So that's fine. And then, so Kingpin's guys, they take over the ship, and they're going to drop the load of gold somewhere where Kingpin can pick it up. And then Spider-Man's there, and now we're getting to the punching. You gotta punch all of the Kingpin goons. Still more punching, and then we find out that Charles Anderson, is not that bad of a guy. And then Firelord's coming. Whoever that is. Sick.
Yeah. We'll talk about Firelord soon.
I don't wanna.
You're going to. He's a Herald of Galactus, but that's okay. But anyway.
They're all Heralds of Galactus.
Who hasn't been a Herald of Galactus? I'm
a Herald of Galactus.
So just so everyone knows, Amazing is kind of the standard superhero punch 'em up, iteration of Spidey at this time. So a little bit more, I don't know, not quite as good as the part one of the story. Becca, did you feel the same way, or what did you think about this one?
Yeah, it was kind of a letdown after I read the web of issue. I was like, oh, cool, more of, like, backstory to this. And I was like, oh, I don't care. As I'm, like, reading it slowly, I'm like, oh, so Kingpin, the government's not evil. Good?
Right.
They're not working with Kingpin, but he's still, okay, cool. And we get Charles Anderson redemption, and he covers for Spidey at the end.
That was cool.
That was cool. But besides that, it seemed like I would have liked more of the story, but then I got more of the story, and I decided, you know what, the original was fine. You could have done. I didn't need this to be developed anymore.
Well, here's the thing: is I do agree it was a little bit more of like a standard superhero thing, but again, it goes back to what we said about Web. It's like in Web Spider-Man there was no punching. In this issue there was punching, but this is also a plot we've never really seen in a Spider-Man comic, where you have this gigantic thing that happens and there's all the repercussions, like just the fact that the U.S. government is involved and, you know, essentially the mafia is involved and Spider-Man is kind of caught in the middle. I just think that it's a really cool story and it's something that we've never really seen in 84 episodes of the show. So for that, I give it props for that.
Yeah, it's definitely not bad. I really enjoyed that the two stories connected. It was nice and refreshing to have a bunch of stories this week that seemed like new, and I wasn't reading the same issue over and over again.
Right.
But this one did feel clunkier, I guess.
Right.
It had a lot of like cool themes and great ideas, but at times it was kind of like it wasn't as smooth as Web for me.
Right.
Like especially like Bex was saying about the guy faxing the papers to Kingpin. It was just like yeah, it's like, wow, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool that Kingpin would be like, I already know. But like, we also already knew. So why are we like waiting? Why are we following this dude just for Kingpin to be like, I know? Like 3 pages. You know what I mean? So it's just like, there's more parts in this one that don't work than in the previous one. But altogether, it's still fun.
I'll just say quickly, one thing I never liked about Kingpin in the comics is that he's so ahead of the game. He's so omniscient. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying amazing things are Spawn.
Oh, I thought so. But that's why I love the Netflix Daredevil, because they made him more human, right? They made him a little bit more vulnerable and more, you know, he's not always out of the game. He's got to actually think sometimes. But yeah, that scene really irritated me. You know, it's like, oh God, it's as annoying as Batman in like the late 90s and 2000s, where Batman becomes like the Chuck Norris of the DC universe. He can do anything. He can beat anybody, you know. It becomes annoying. But anyway, other than that, I thought this issue, yeah, it was good, but it was a little bit disappointing. Michelle, what'd you think of this issue of Amazing Spider-Man?
Yeah, it felt a little anticlimactic to me. I found the idea of the government hiding the money because an influx of money would actually tank capitalism because of the way capitalism works. You can't give the bottom money; you have to keep the money at the top. It kind of interested me in a way that it was like with the whole GameStop stock market thing that was going on, where the people at the bottom were making money, so they started like stopping people from being able to buy the stock and stuff because they were actually gaming the game.
Right,
and it was just an interesting little like aside to like the idea that the government would hide this money because if too many people got hold of money, it would like destroy capitalism basically because you know that's the way it functions. And I just thought that was like a funny idea, like they were like a solid gold building is just an interesting idea of like, oh, it'll just tank everything. But they kind of like, it just felt like a little more, of an afterthought. Like the setup to the story felt more fleshed out than the climax to me.
Right, right.
There's a lot of great, building up with the golden building, and then they just kind of turned it into a little punch fest, and they're like, and then it just didn't feel like a satisfactory conclusion to me.
Right.
But I really like the premise, and I wish they would have kind of kept up with the quality of that first half of the story. Kind of didn't stick the landing.
Right. G.I. Jolie, what'd you think of part 2 of this story?
Yeah, it was not great. Josh made a point earlier that I really agreed with, but now I can't remember because all I was thinking about was the butt tally. Because I was like, you know what? There's got to be, the art's real good, so there's got to be enough butts here to add to the tally. There's only like 2 really good ones, so.
There's a good one coming up, though. There's a great one coming up.
Oh, yes, there is. So, yeah, like for its contribution to the butt tally, I give it like a 5. But like, also, it just seemed. I don't know. I don't want to like shame the military, but anything that is like military themed, I kind of like check out.
Mm-hmm.
Shame away.
Well, it's not
kidding.
that it's boring.
Well,
It's that
I used to be in the military, and the military stuff is boring as hell. I hate watching military stuff.
Hello.
right. Okay, so
It was
that's part of the
boring
reason
being
why.
in it too.
Because I'm like, well, Michelle's in the military, so there's no offense to like her service was in the military, I should say. But like, whenever they decide to involve the military in any kind of way, and especially in this story, they make it so boring. Because it is, as Michelle says, it's boring. Like the paperwork and the pencil pushing and the gold collecting, it's boring work. Like they're in there doing.
I like gold.
They're in there doing the grunt work, and grunt work is not glamorous. It's just like 22 pages of like exposition over top of gold collecting.
Okay, I have to point out something about the military depiction in this comic, and I only know this because I'm a loser. But this is actually a satire of G.I. Joe. The character who's introduced on page, what page is it? I can't remember where he's. I'm
the purple coat guy.
No.
The hunk.
The sergeant. That is Duke. That is Duke with a slightly different colored uniform. The rest of the issue, they're essentially treating these guys like they're G.I. Joe without saying they're G.I. Joe. So that's what. So this military is actually just G.I. Joe.
Is that confirmed?
No, it's just that I just know it because if you look at page 6, that is Duke except with a different colored shirt. And then
yeah.
And then they keep saying like, oh, you guys, I heard you guys are the best, and they have lasers. And granted, maybe it's not confirmed, but it's like G.I. Joe was the best-selling Marvel comic at this time, was better selling than X-Men. So I can only assume it was a G.I. Joe reference, but maybe I'm wrong. Who knows?
Yeah, it's like, is anyone in G.I. Joe named like Skydog 1 or Ground Leader? Like, I don't know. I can't.
Yeah, if it's not like a satire of G.I. Joe,
reference.
Yeah, I can definitely see it being a reference or trying to capitalize on that good G.I. Joe money. Right. If it was like the best-selling comic, there would probably be a push for there to be more military and more like, army-themed stories happening. So that makes sense.
Well, I just looked up marvel.fandom.com, and it says at the bottom, trivia, a soldier Agent Anderson speaks to is unnamed, but looks exactly like Sergeant Conrad Duke Hauser from the comic and toy series G.I. Joe, Real American Hero. So I can only assume it's supposed to be him.
So Duke's last name is really Hauser?
Yep.
Oh, God.
Conrad Hauser.
I don't know anything about G.I. Joe. Is this the hunk guy we're talking about?
Yeah.
The blonde guy,
the hunky blonde crew
come on.
cut at the beginning.
I like him. He knows he's the only one who knew what the hell's going on.
He was played by who's that hot guy in Magic Mike?
Oh, Channing Tatum?
Yeah, he was played by Channing Tatum in the G.I. Joe movie.
Well,
Hold on a second.
Yeah, he's the lead. You can't just say who's that hot guy in Magic Mike and expect us to pick out one. I mean, I just chose
The star of the movie. Anyway, okay. Enough.
A hot guy in Magic Mike. Well, we know he's not talking about, what's his name? So, but it could be anybody else.
Okay, anyway. So, yeah.
I gotta watch G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra.
So, Becca, you've never seen G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra?
I don't like shooty movies that much.
Yeah, what a shame.
It's just I'm just looking at screenshots. It looks like I really missed something.
Hey.
The G.I. Joe live action movies are absolute garbage.
Yes,
Yeah, they're
good.
bad.
They're pure
They're
shit.
really bad.
But you still have to watch them, though. Come on.
I just Googled it and I saw this shirtless man picture that I put in the chat. Maybe I will watch it.
Oh, boy.
Who's this man?
Wait,
let's have a look.
I have no idea. Oh, that's from the sequel, I think, because The Rock is in it.
Oh, wait a minute.
Maybe I will watch it.
Who is that guy? No,
I
don't
have no.
know.
I only remember like small parts of the sequel, and I think that they kill off all the characters right away because the first one was so bad, and they bring in a bunch of new guys.
Right. Enough about G.I. Joe.
Wow, the Rock is just gigantic.
Yeah, he's looking pretty prime in that picture.
Don't you just want to give him like a cart full of watermelons
I was like, yeah,
and watch him crush them with his thighs?
Nah, he could just bench press me. I know I wouldn't be much, but like, I could try.
That wouldn't even be much of an accomplishment, would it? But anyway.
No, I'd enjoy it. Sometimes you need a light warm up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super feather light.
There you go.
I mean, I don't really.
Champion.
Since when do I watch things for their good plot, right? Like, I am a Marvel fan.
Well, that's the thing. I was like, you're like, wow, this looks like trash. I was like, as our resident queen of trash, I feel like it is your duty to watch this Cobra movie.
Yeah, I just watched Venom recently again, so.
Oh, no.
Ooh.
And enjoyed every second of it.
I still haven't seen that. I actually bought it on Blu-ray because it was like $3 somewhere.
Worth it.
In
I
like
need to
the
watch it.
Walmart bin.
It was like at there's like this place called Disc Replay, and you could buy used stuff, and it was like literally like the case was like kind of like scratched up, and it was like $3. I was like, oh, I'll buy that.
Someone's dog got it.
Yeah.
It was like they found it in a dumpster. They were like, oh, we'll sell it.
Stop, guys! You're bullying me.
If you have the
I don't know if
ability,
it's bad. I haven't seen it.
You're bullying.
It's pretty
Tom
rough.
Hardy.
It's pretty rough.
if you have the ability to watch it at like 2x or like 3.5, go ahead. You won't miss anything if you do. You only have more of your life to gain by watching it faster. So.
Right, there you go.
You guys, I like it.
Tom Hardy is one of my favorite actors.
Does someone hear something?
He was slumming
Shut up,
it.
hey!
He was slumming it.
I'm here. I have opinions. They matter.
It's like a weird buzzing sound. I don't know. I'm getting it. I love Rebecca.
Okay, enough.
Mom, Jolie's bullying me on the internet.
But that's me. Oh, anyway.
All right. Okay, back to Amazing Spidey.
Recommendations, I think.
Not as good as the first one, but you still have to read it. I give it a mild recommendation. Josh, what about you?
No, I don't think I do recommend this one, and not because it was like completely awful. It's just that the web is the same story but better, in my opinion. So I didn't get anything more from this that I didn't already get from Web this week. So I would recommend reading Web again.
Ooh,
okay. Yeah. Okay. Michelle, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you could actually get away with just reading, Gold Rush, because it kind of is like self-contained enough to where you get a whole story. Like, you get the the ending is a little bit like nebulous, but it's like in a good way. Like, you know, what does he do with the notebook? You know, you kind of like.
Right.
I think it could literally end it there, and then just like address the notebook like some other time, and not even read the other part, and you'd be good.
Okay. Becca, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. It's just, like, pretty generic Spidey, but it just is coming off of a much better story that we just read. It just seems like that was literally the same story. It just seems kind of pointless to read it, almost. But you'd miss the tantalizing ending with Fire Lord, so can't miss that. How are you gonna know what happens next? Fire Lord's gonna show up and you're gonna be so confused.
Yeah, because they won't reserve the first 2 or 3 pages to recapping what already's happened.
Yeah.
Which is basically just Fire Lord's coming.
Right.
Keep coming. Hold on.
Watch out.
Two pages of panels of Fire Lord is coming.
Yeah, read it, don't, whatever. I don't care. It's your life.
Okay. G.I. Jolie, what do you think?
No, don't read it.
Okay.
Get it out of you. Read web. I agree with everybody else and Becca. Read web or don't, and especially don't read this. Yeah.
I agree with everyone else and Becca. Okay.
You have to reiterate that because I do have some pretty polarizing opinions.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
No,
Like
everybody
my
else, as
love
in
of
like
Venom.
that buzzing
Yikes.
is back.
No comment.
Yeah, just skip it. Skip it. It's
I
terrible.
also, me and Becca both loved Aquaman. Anyway, okay, now let's jump to the next one.
Oh
I
boy.
didn't say I hated
My love
it.
of Aquaman has been tainted now because Amber Heard sucks.
Yeah, well,
It's so hard to watch.
Yeah, I can't watch it now.
you know,
God, why do people gotta suck?
how did
Well,
you
luckily,
always...
I thought it sucked before that.
Yeah, same.
It just reinforced my opinion of the film.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a quick question, Michelle. Side note, did you see John Carpenter's film, what is it called, The Ward with Amber Heard?
The what?
Heard.
Is it called The Ward?
Amber Turd.
The War of Amber Heard.
No, what's her name? Amber Heard?
Heard.
Amber Heard is her name.
Amber
Yeah.
Heard.
What about it?
Did you see John Carpenter's film The Ward, where she's the star and she's like stuck in
No.
a hospital? Yeah, it's John Carpenter's last film.
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
Was she good?
Yeah, she's pretty good, but it's one of those things where you watch it and you go, okay, I know that she abuses spouses. I know that she's not that great looking, so what else does she have going for her? And you kind of go, not much, you know? So I don't know why she ever became a star. I just don't get it, you know?
Yeah, she's not. I don't think she's a good actress. Also, like that was kind of a sucky part of the Snyder cut is that she's like in it more,
Right.
and then she's like, spoiler alert, she's in that like the epilogue or whatever too. And you're just like,
right.
and she had that
like-
weird. I was like, oh
Sorry.
no, they're setting up more Amber Heardiverse.
Yeah, Herdiverse.
That's a Pokemon, actually.
Right, like that's the weird thing too, is like he went back and shot more stuff with her.
Oh
In
yeah,
particular.
That is weird.
That is new stuff. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
That's new.
Yeah, that
So-
Joker scene's all new, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
It's the
Yeah.
only new scene. Yeah, that is weird. Well,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do?
Was it written before? Like, I don't know. Is she still contractually obligated? It was weird.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess that could be like maybe like she has to be in this. Like if you had a reshoot, she had to be in it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
Something
it's something in the
stupid.
contractor. You know.
Not my man Zack Snyder. He doesn't approve of her.
No,
No.
Zaddy would
Zaddy!
never approve that.
Okay,
Yes! Mike is so outnumbered.
enough about Amber Heard and Zack Snyder.
And Zaddy,
I love it.
Zaddy.
He brought it up.
Okay, let's talk about Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. Okay,
Oh.
106.
Do we gotta?
Yep. So now we have part 2 of the team up with the Wasp. Okay. If things were not awkward last month, they get even more awkward. Okay. So I apologize, Michelle. This is part 2 of a story. This is a really weird one, but essentially, Janet Van Dyne is like part of the board of directors for a company that is sort of being taken over by someone that may or may not be involved with the mafia. and then Spidey gets involved, and that's it. Okay, so now we jump in, and Spider-Man is trying to figure things out with the Wasp, while Star Fox listens in. We'll talk about Star Fox later. I don't know.
I have a lot to say.
I don't know what the Christ is going on with this character. He's probably, if you were to list the worst 3 Avengers ever, he's right at the bottom with like Dr. Druid and Gilgamesh. Like, no one likes this guy. but whatever, that's fine. So basically, Spidey and Wasp are trying to figure out what's going on, and so we got this bad guy. What's his name? It's an Italian name.
Oh, yeah.
Granetti?
Yeah, the mafia guy.
Yeah.
I don't know, but anyway,
It starts with a G and ends with an Eddie.
It is Granetti.
Yeah, Granetti. Okay, Granetti. So he's got his floozies around him, and basically he's got Paladin kind of working with him, but kind of not. And, it's like one of those things where, okay, so basically he's trying to take over this company because he's got like this drug operation going on from like South America or whatever. And we cut to this weird scene of this couple making out, as we all have, behind a building on the docks, behind a garbage dumpster. Hey, everyone knows what this is like, right? So
Very romantic spot.
Yeah, so anyway. So,
What's kissing? I don't know what that is.
Dumpsters. The docks.
Grapefruit.
Boba Fett.
Anyway.
We've not been drinking, I swear. I mean, I can't speak for anyone else, but...
So anyway. So Spidey gets mixed up with this crime that's happening. And it's one of those things where, like, Paladin's there, and you're not really sure what side he's on. And Spider-Man is trying to, like, help out. And, like, Paladin gets, knocked into the water. And then Spidey goes down, and they fight. And then blah, blah, blah. And then the guy from the makeout session gets shot. And so it's like, oh, we got to take him to the hospital. So Spidey takes the guy to the hospital, and then Paladin takes the girl. And, of course, while he's carrying her, he does what anyone would do, which is hit on her, even though she's 16.
He asks her age first.
Right.
And then immediately takes it back, so good man.
Yeah, there you go.
He's like, oh, never mind. Oh, also your boyfriend's been shot, but let's ignore that.
Yeah. Maybe now's not a good time.
Might be dead, we don't know.
Right.
You're single almost.
Yeah, you might be single, you don't know. You might want to hedge your bets there, lady.
So anyway, and so we find out that there's like 4 shipments coming in from this mafia guy, and like one of them is okay. So what was the first one? It was like
Teddy bears.
What was it? Teddy bears.
No, it's grapefruit.
Grapefruit.
One of them was grapefruit. Yeah, the first one was grapefruit. The second one was teddy bears with sugar inside them. Right?
Yes.
Sorry, the way she finds, she's like, sugar. When she was... she's like, tastes it, and what if it was cocaine, Jan? I'm sorry.
Yeah, she was hoping it was cocaine. She's trying to get some gum. She's trying to get some gum nummies going, like help her fight a little better. And she's like, "Aw, sugar, dang."
Yeah, because we can't read the sarcasm, but it is there. Sugar, great.
Yeah, I know. It's like sugar, period. Great, period. Like,
Yeah.
Sugar, great.
Fuck, that's good. Anyway, so then we find out there's actually a train coming in, which is actually, what the real, shipment is. That's like the money deal there. And that's got the real stuff. And so that's coming in, and we get this weird scene with like another train going the opposite way, and Wasp is shrunk, and then she enlarges. And, it's a Quinjet. It's a Quinjet. It's gonna
right.
that's gonna like what's it called when you hit something head on?
Collide.
Collide. There you go. It's gonna collide with the train, and Spider-Man's there, and blah blah blah. And basically, what it comes down to is Spider-Man saves the day. And Paladin is kind of like on both sides. And Wasp ends up, kind of like, because we actually made a reference to this last week where we were complaining about Wasp having to serve them coffee, but the end of this issue has like the other guy serving coffee, which shows that Wasp comes out on top and blah, blah, blah. And that's basically it, right? And that's basically it. And so we have a very convoluted story, but I admire it for what it's trying to do. So I had no issues with it. I thought it was pretty good. I like the dialogue. The situation was a little bit funky, but overall not bad. Michelle, what did you think of Peter Parker number 106?
I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't a fan of it. It was just like really convoluted for no reason to me, and just I didn't like Wasp at all.
Okay.
Like her character is not. It was just annoying to me. I like her fighting style. I mean, it's fun to be able to shrink, and I like that she's got a little pizzazz to her. But just like also, I kind of came in like I was trying to like research what happened before because I was for some reason I was under the impression that like they were dating. Because he was, like, just the way they were interacting in the beginning, and I'm like, oh, wait, no, they're not. They're just partners. It just seems like they're, the way Peter Parker and her interact with each other is weird. Like, it's just off.
Yeah.
And also, just the way the story was constructed was strange. Like, it went from dumpster kissing to getting shot in the shoulder from, like, 0 to 100.
Right,
and then there was, like, and then there's all this, like, weird, like, shenanigan style, like, oh, what's in the packages? Are we at the right place? Boxes, grapefruit, so put sugar on your grapefruit, yuppie breakfast. And I'm just like, what is happening? Like, what?
Right.
And then it's just weird. It just didn't flow well. It was just a lot of weird. It felt like they just threw ideas around and just in a hat and picked them out. And it was like, oh, grapefruit, oh, sugar. Like
right.
Like teddy bears. Oh, okay, let's make a story out of this. Dumpster. Okay, well, yeah, we'll add that in.
And everything just like comes to an abrupt end too. Like everything is just like flying at you so fast, and then all of a sudden, it's done. Spider-Man like lifts the train car. Like, okay, that was easy.
Yeah.
Like, I just needed to take it off the tracks, I guess, and then we're done. Like. We tie up the bad guy, and then all of a sudden we get like one panel of Wasp in the building, and Spidey swinging away, and it's just like, oh my god, what even happened?
The ending is brutal. Like basically, Wasp is like, serving or the other guy serving coffee, just like blah blah blah, and then Spidey's outside the window, and then he swings away, and Spidey's like, ditz, women can't live with him, can't live without him. I wonder what Mary Jane's doing. What Mary Jane's doing this evening? Like, ooh, that's a rough ending. Like, ran out of pages. Go ahead.
Do you think Wasp kept like the sugar, so like for her coffee, or is that like a superhero perk? Like you get to keep
what you find.
She keep the other sugar. For her coffee.
There you go.
Well,
got a lot of zing to it.
This is rough.
It's crazy because like, oh god, it's a mess. I agree with Michelle. It's a mess. There's a lot of fashion though, and again, characters bringing in fashion to these books is like the best part of these books. Anyway.
Well, here's the thing: is Wasp, and Wasp. For some reason, one of her things is that her costume changes like every 3 months. So she's kind of known for always having different costumes. So that's just her thing, I guess.
Well, she's a fashion designer. That's also
shoot. Well, there you go.
Character.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah, because I only know that because she made Miss Marvel's costume.
Okay.
I don't know anything about the Wasp if it doesn't have to do with my life.
Well, yeah, like the Wasp started out in the 60s as a sidekick to Ant-Man. Obviously, she became her own character later on. But when she started out, she was very I love Stan Lee as much as the next guy, but whatever you do, don't read any Stan Lee comics from 1961 to 1970 if you care about how women are portrayed, because he portrays them very negatively. Okay, it's rough. It was a rough time for women.
I mean, I'm just glad that the Wasp isn't running around in lingerie again.
Yeah.
Like
I forgot.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I'm like, yeah, this suit does kind of look different from last issue. And I just went back. I'm like, oh, that's right, because she was naked. Okay. Yeah. That's right. That's right. That's why she looks a little different.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
She's got pants this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she was like, they're like, whoa. And she's like, oh, I knew I should have put more than just a W on my chest. And I was like...
Oh, that was funny. Come on.
Okay. It's funny if you're born after a certain year, but she has like a Ziggy Stardust thing going on, which is kind of fun. Hello.
Where? Does she?
Yeah.
We can hear you. Same thing happened to you.
No, I was thinking I like the fit. Like I would cosplay this fit if I had the girls to do so, because her girls are like up there.
Yeah, her outfit was fire, like that she was fighting in. I was like, dang, Wasp coming out with some good shit. And then the rest of the story happened, and the story previous to that. But her outfit was fire.
Yeah, she's got like these like cool gold, like fashionable bracelets that are her stingers too. Like, yeah, it looks pretty cool. Sorry, Jolie, I think I cut you off there though.
Oh no, it's okay. It was gonna. It was to make a point. Because I went to the panel where you can see her gold bracelets, which are cool. And I don't understand why she's holding a camera. Like Michelle said, this issue is really convoluted, and it's like in a bad way again.
Yeah. I don't even remember her having a camera. I mean, that's the thing.
She was literally stopping in the middle of a fight and take a picture of somebody like in their face.
Right.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
She's trying to get physical evidence for the police to arrest the guy behind it all, because they don't have any physical evidence other than the fact that he's constantly saying, "It's me, I killed him, I got the drugs."
Yeah, I think that just goes to show, like, there's so many things that are just like happening and so quickly that it feels like nothing really matters, because we don't even have enough time to really think about what's happening. So it doesn't even set in. Like, whether I was reviewing this or not, if I'm reading it, if it's in the story, it should be important, right? Or I don't know. If it's not, then it shouldn't be of consequence. But like, there's so many things happening that they all almost feel like small little moments, right? And I think that's why it falls apart and it feels like it's going so fast. We don't have time to sit and think about what even is happening.
Okay, but go ahead, Jolie.
And it's still, to me, it reaffirms what we said about last week's Spectacular, about the story. Well, what three of us maybe said. Four of us? Did Chad say the same thing? I don't know.
Not me.
Not good.
Not Chad.
Okay. Well, anyway, the fact that they're doing with the characters now in this issue is even, it doesn't pan out or make sense still, and it's like that's great that Janet has sort of, her role becomes clearer, but it's like Paladin. Now he's just this extra character who's wrapped up in the action that is inconsequential. They could have not even written him in, and he wouldn't have been missed. Like, I would not even have remembered that he was sitting with Jan while she was naked drinking tea. Like, I wouldn't have remembered that. Well, I remember it because that's crazy. But,
Right.
but had they not brought him back to drink more tea and listen to, like, what was going on, when they're hatching their scheme and Spider-Man's like, I hate hospitals. Like, he's just sitting there drinking out of a styrofoam cup.
Is he really? Hold on a second.
Oh, yeah, he sure is. It's like Digital 15. He's just there. And he's like, wow.
He is drinking out of a cup. Why?
Yeah.
Why is he in the waiting room? You guys don't know this kid.
Right? It's weird. I don't know.
Okay, we haven't even talked about Star Fox. We talked about Star Fox?
My hand's up. You can't see it, but it is.
Okay, go ahead.
We're at Avengers Mansion, right? Jarvis is there. Cool. Wasp is in charge. Double cool. Out of all of the cameos, out of every single cameo, why is it Thanos' horny brother? Why?
Well, because he was in the Avengers at the time.
So?
Fair point.
Anybody else? Why is that the cameo? Why is that supposed to get readers to want to read Avengers? Is it supposed to, is Wasp good friends with Star Fox? I don't think you can be good friends with Star Fox. I don't think, you get a choice. He decides. I hate Star Fox.
No,
Star Fox's face makes me think of an old man who keeps dyeing his hair red to still feel young.
There you
Oh my
go.
god.
That is his character.
He looks like an old man, but acts like a child.
He probably is. He's a god. He's kind of a god. Sort of.
I guess.
He's Thanos' brother.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's funny how they cut him out of Avengers 3 and 4. He should have been in there, right?
Yeah. He could have been oh, hey Bruce, you got a hot cousin we can bone? Sick. That's Star Fox's character.
Yeah,
There you go.
he's that weird old guy that's always talking about,
Teenagers.
his hairline is weird because he dyes it, like Josh speculated. But he's also just always doing yoga and talking about it. He's doing it here. I can't maintain my lotus. Maybe that was Spider-Man. But ew.
If he was nowadays, he'd be one of those people that do those yoga sessions and then they put it on fast forward and post it on Instagram. He would totally be a yoga Instagram influencer.
Yes.
Right.
Oh yeah. He'd put his hand on my shoulder and be like, you don't need those antidepressants. You just need to exercise more.
Yes,
Come
go
on.
outside, get some fresh air. That's the
Yeah.
best medicine.
Put on some tight pants and do yoga with me. I don't have an ulterior motive at all.
A little downward dog will fix anything.
You know what, Jolie,
wink,
too?
wink.
It was Jarvis who was like, "No, please! Oh no, you woke Star Fox up from his stupid nap! Oh God!"
Now we have to listen to him.
Now great. The only time I get a couple minutes of silence in the day is when Star Fox is meditating. He just woke him up. Thanks, Spider-Man. Thank you.
I like how there's the 3 pages of that, and then we have to rush the ending into 2 panels, right? Just cut out some of the garbage, the faff, if you will.
They could have just cut right to the bottom of Digital 3, where Spider-Man is looking over Janet's shoulder. She comes in with shopping. Not only do we get the scene where he accidentally wakes up Star Fox, Firebrand,
Yeah.
Firefox,
Star Fox.
Okay,
Star Fox 64.
that's the one where she wakes him up, or he is woken up. But she walks in, makes Peter, help her pick out an outfit, and then is like, nah, your fashion sense is terrible. How about you, Jarvis? They go through a whole page of that, and then they get to more Star Fox, and then they get to what is actually happening, which is she gets to her big supercomputer. They could have just went right to the last panel of page 3. Or do the first panel without Firefox, because then we get the really cool little thing statue
Right.
on the bookshelf, which is really cute, and then the terrarium, which is nice, and that dope ass maybe it's a velvet painting of a black child. I love it. In the background, whose child is that? I love it. It doesn't matter.
I was also thinking that too. There's that big picture of just a child's face, and then later on we get in the bad guy's hideout. There's it looks like a superhero framed picture behind them in the living room on original page 4.
Oh, it's like a male torso.
Yeah. But it's almost in a flying pose.
Yeah. It's Grecian, but
It's a lot of... Oh, sorry.
it's all
I
good.
was just going to say, it's a lot of unnecessary detail.
Yeah.
Who's the artist? Is it Danny Fingeroth? No.
No, it's the artist is
Luke McDonnell.
Luke McDonnell.
Who
did
is
last
she?
issue? No, who did last issue? He's not great. That's okay though. The art's not great. What are you gonna do though?
You know what? The art is fine.
Complain about
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
He keeps drawing the terrarium. Even when you're looking at Janet coming into the room with all her shopping boxes.
Yeah, I love that terrarium.
Yeah.
I want
Kind
it.
of nice, right?
Yeah.
It's like one of those big wine decanters where it's flat. Anyway.
Like,
at any
whoever
rate-
did that, they had to, like, put the plants in and then, like, use really long, like, tweezers to, like, plant them.
That took work. Or magic, because it's Avengers Mansion, right?
Oh, true, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe Firefox did it. I don't... Maybe. Also, you know what year it is when you carry in shopping boxes.
I don't know. The ladies at my store constantly ask me if we have boxes, and I go, no, it's 2021. Also, 10 cents for a bag, please. And they go, that's outrageous. And I go, cool.
All right, so we got to wrap up our review of Spectacular 106. We still have one more comic to talk about.
Oh, right.
Oh,
right.
geez,
So, yeah.
4.
Oh, my
Hello.
goodness, forgot.
So, I love Peter David, but this two-parter is one Peter David story that I sold when I was a kid, so obviously I didn't like it even when I was a kid. It's not great, so I still think you should read it, but it's not great. Josh, what do you think?
No, I didn't like it. No.
Okay.
No.
Michelle, do you recommend this issue?
No, I thought it was pretty booty, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Not the good kind of booty.
Okay.
No.
The good kind of booty is coming up, though.
Yeah, it is.
All right, Bex Luthor, what do you think? Recommend it or no?
Nah, skip it. Janet's character is too wonky for me. For her being, like, the focal point of this not Marvel team-up. I don't know. It's like... He even calls her a ditz, even though clearly she's not. Like, everyone needs to just leave.
Right. Right. It's like that girl power moment at the end. Like, yeah, she's the CEO of this company now. She owns the majority of the shares. She's no longer running errands for a bunch of old white men. And then you know, it's like this well, I say this powerful moment, it was one panel. But yeah, it's downplayed by Spidey swinging away and calling her a ditz. It's just like, okay,
It's like the writer, he felt like he needed to, they felt like they needed to, like, zing it in, like, they're, like, just to put her in her place
right.
right at the end.
Yeah, she's a superhero, so she has to win, but she's still a woman. So
Yeah.
let's not get too carried away here. She likes shopping and doing her hair.
Okay. Julie.
5 butts for the tally, but that's all it gets.
All right.
It's all it gives, I should say.
It doesn't give much. In the
No,
butts.
it doesn't give much because I'm
Hey, you
adding
get
butts.
what you give.
It's hard to give butt over podcast. I can only, and I'm adding butts together. Like,
Whoa.
there's like a lot of silhouettes. So in total, there's 6 for the tally. And I can't recommend this story. Even if you did read that weird, like, lingerie escapade cafe date one before this.
All right. So usually that would be the end, but this week we've got an annual to review. Web of Spider-Man Annual number 1. Even though there's only been 5 issues of Web, they've already got an annual. First off, I gotta start out by saying this cover by Charles Vess is freaking awesome.
Fantastic. It's so good.
Yes. Charles Vess. We've talked about him before on the show. We all love Charles Vess. Michelle, are you familiar with Charles Vess at all?
No.
Jolie, help me out. Didn't he do some Sandman stories or
Yes.
something?
So
Oh,
he's
okay.
Yeah.
So he did not Sandman, Stardust.
Stardust. Okay,
Oh.
with Neil Gaiman, yes.
Yeah, so
He's
he's,
a
a
great artist.
fantasy illustrator.
Yes. But yeah, around this time he was doing like random Spider-Man covers. So yeah, anyway, he's a really good artist. Now, I'm not gonna... We'll talk about the creators later. The inside art is different. It's by Tony Sammons. I'm not gonna say anything bad about him because I love him. But it's not as good as the cover art. We'll talk about that later.
Right. And because it's not like a fully rendered... You know, each panel's not fully rendered picture, where like the
Right.
cover
It's like
is
almost
like...
painted. Yeah.
Right.
Right. So, who's summarizing this one? I can't remember.
I can start summarizing,
Josh. Okay,
and
there
then
you go. Okay.
if anybody wants to jump in and fix anything I say, please feel free to. But okay, so we start off this issue with Spidey, and he's stopping a bank robbery. It's not a bank robbery; it's like a jewelry store robbery. And when he goes inside, it's a bunch of these like mini, like skinny, scrawny robots, and a couple of them are keeping watch, a couple of them are like holding bags, and they're like all helping each other steal these jewels. And when they see Spider-Man, they all start to run, so he's chasing them, and they're like stacking up on top of each other, and Peter's a little confused, and what's really happening is all of these tiny little like human-sized robots are combining together to make this like large mech suit looking robot, and together they're able to kind of stop Spider-Man. When they grab him and tie him up, they spray him with this gas, which knocks him out, but before he goes down for the count, he's able to jump up for one last kick, and he knocks the robot's head off. And unfortunately, because they're all separate robots, they're still able to get away. The only one that was kind of like half destroyed was the robot's head. So he gets up kind of defeated, and he takes the robot head with him, and it'll come back later on in the story. And then after this is when we're introduced to Max, who is this kid who has, I don't think they actually say exactly what he has, but it has something to do with his nervous system. So I'm assuming something like MS or
right. Something
something that is affecting his nervous system. So he's having issues walking, and he needs metal braces around his legs to help stabilize him. And also at times he's starting, his condition is starting to affect his hands, and they'll cramp up, or he won't be able to use them properly, or his fingers aren't working the best. And we kind of get this moment of him giving up on sports because he doesn't think he'll be able to really do them. And he kind of says that, but he's also like, I don't know why I wasted my time with sports when I could have been doing science. But really, we kind of get this sense of him giving up on sports because he can't physically do it. And then we see these like kids start bullying him, and he runs away. And back in his apartment, he's like talking to his computers, and he's extremely smart. We see that he's building like an exosuit, and he's kind of like almost making himself into a superhero. And then we are introduced to, I'm assuming, is a little girl next door.
Right. We don't really know.
Yeah. Who lives in the building next door. And they always talk through the walls to each other. Mm-hmm. And they're supposed to be kind of, I guess, in a little bit of a relationship and talking or whatever, but they've never actually met or seen each other. And the girl next door, she actually is able to push one of the bricks in between the walls out to meet each other, but he gets nervous and thinks that she won't like him if she sees him with the braces and sees what he looks like. So he kind of quickly puts the brick back and says that he wants to remain it, a surprise. And then we cut over to kind of this like grifter. He's like, pretending to help an old lady cross the street, but really trying to pickpocket her. So he's just like a con man. And we see him grab a newspaper out of the garbage and sees the science fair. So he has an idea that maybe he can go steal something from there. So we go to the science fair. Max is showing his robotic exoskeleton, and Peter Parker is also there because this is the school that he went to, and he sees this kid, and they kind of get talking. He decides it would be great to do a story on the kid because he's extremely smart, and he's never seen like mechanics like like this before, and he actually notes about a certain technique he uses to like wire the suit, I believe it is. So he gives him the contact card and he leaves. And that's when the grifter comes in and he kind of tricks the kid into building him a suit and says that he knows Reed Richards and he can help him out and hopefully cure him of his, neural disorder or disability. Mm-hmm. So some time passes and Peter's in his house and he picks up the robot head and he realizes that it's wired the same way that the kid wired his exosuit. So he knows that the kid is the one behind it. So he goes and swings to kind of confront the kid, and we catch up with them as the kid is done building the suit, and this bad guy is in this kind of like big pink mech suit, which is super fun. And then when Spider-Man shows up, they kind of get into a fight, and nothing really huge happens. It's just kind of like a fight around like the rooftops of New York, and to stop him, they need to dump water over him. The kid like yells to Spider-Man that a way to stop the suit is to get it wet. So Spider-Man brings him to a water tower and busts it open, and he's left kind of motionless there, where he's able to disarm the suit and run away. And then Spidey kind of tells the kid that it's going to be okay when he goes on the date to meet, his girlfriend, and to just be himself and maybe bring along like a little trinket to give to her. And then it kind of ends on this like sweet note. And yeah, it's a fun, small contained story, which is extremely surprising for an annual. Normally, annuals are these like overstuffed, let's throw every character we possibly can into the story to sell this issue. And this is like a nice, small, contained story. And I think for me, it works so well because it's spread out. Like the extra pages are actually used to tell story and not to, have some cameos from Marvel's best superheroes. Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun one. The art is great too.
I'll just say quickly, by the time we got to like 89, 90, 91, Marvel Annuals became like this weird crossover thing where like every story set up another story and referenced something else. And you're right, this is completely self-contained. You don't need to read anything else to understand that. Understand the story. So for that, I'll give it props. I have a lot to say about the story, which I'll talk about later. But Michelle, what was your first impression of this issue, Web of Spider-Man? Annual number 1.
Oh yeah, this is actually my favorite one out of the 4 issues. I first off, I just love robots, anything to do with robots and like electronics and stuff. And I thought the robots were drawn super cute, and then I thought it was adorable. They were doing a little Voltron thing, combining up, and it was like cute. And I really liked the story had like a really good, strong subtext and narrative like theme running through it, which was Spider-Man lamenting that he doesn't get to spend as much time as Peter Parker. And he kind of gave up that side of himself. He gives up that side of himself more and more as he becomes like, more and more of a superhero. And then he kind of like gets a chance to kind of help himself by helping Max, because Max is kind of like him at that age too. Like he was like super like Max is kind of doing the stuff that Peter Parker wished he would have done had he not become Spider-Man, basically. So it's like a nice little like mirror, I guess, of himself. Like he gets some kind of like internal satisfaction, like self-actualization through helping Max like do his thing. And I also love like the suit that he made. It was like bootleg Iron Man, like Kroger brand Iron Man, and it just looked really fun. Like when he was fighting, and it was like the perfect amount of like camp, but also like emotional like pathos to like make the story like feel like satisfying. And I thought it was fantastic, to be honest. It was just like from beginning to end, it was nice flow, nice climax, good theme. There's a character arc in it. Had a nice you know, like, you know, a nice ending for, you know, the one thing that was weird was, like, the kid or whatever, I was having trouble, like, figuring out how old he was. Mm-hmm. Like, it felt like he was younger, and then towards the end of the story, he felt older, but maybe that was just, like, his arc, like, he was, like, more sure of himself now. But at first I thought he was, like, 10 or something, or 11, and then later it felt like he was, like, 15 or 16, because you know, when it was just, his age felt kind of ambiguous to me a bit.
Okay.
But other than that, I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, do you know what? Now that you say that, it's also kind of hard to understand. Like, it's hard to suss out how old he is too, because we only see Beatrice, the woman through the person through the wall. We only see their hand, and their hand looks older than, you know, 10 or 15.
Yeah, she had like long nails and like
that was weird.
Long, yeah. Maybe it was her mom. I don't know.
it felt kind of creepy. Well, whatever. We obviously know it's okay because this kid is not alarmed in any way. But every time they brought it up, when they first introduced that he's talking to her through the wall, and then when he's done and they go out on their date or whatever, he brings her a toy robot. Every encounter seems sinister. And I don't know if it's just because of the art or what. I'll just leave that there.
And then if she is a kid, because at the end she's like, "Oh, I hope you're hungry. I made you dinner." It's like, so if he's 10 and you're 10, you made him dinner? I don't understand.
You boiled him hot dogs?
Yeah, like, did we microwave some chicken nuggets? Like, is that what happened?
Like, I feel like he must be like 15 or 16.
Yeah.
And maybe he was getting beat up by younger kids because he had that muscular degeneration issue. So he could be beaten up by younger kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were stronger than him. Maybe that was like also to kind of reinforce like how much his condition had weakened him.
Maybe.
So here's the thing. So I'm just gonna say quickly. Innocenti. I don't remember. Have we talked about Innocenti on this podcast yet?
Yes.
Innocenti. Sorry. Have we?
Yeah.
She might have written one story. I don't remember. But at this point, she was the editor of the X-Men, and she was hired at Marvel with zero experience writing comics, zero experience reading comics, pretty much. She comes from I think she had written maybe short stories or novels or something, but she was basically hired because, well, to be honest, they wanted to get a woman. They wanted to get a woman with a different voice in there. She had no experience. She applied for the job. They're like, you know what? You haven't read any comics. We don't care. Just come in. Just come in and we'll talk to you. They gave her the job. She ended up becoming the editor of X-Men during, I believe, post-Dark Phoenix era. A lot of people criticized the era for being completely off the wall, Chris Claremont. But this is also a time where no one was really, scrutinizing over anything. And so we got a lot of creativity from Chris Claremont. And a lot of that credit goes to Innocenti. Around this time, she was doing random issues of Marvel Comics, including Spider-Man. She did the Long Shot miniseries with Art Adams. And then she ended up taking over Daredevil with John Romita Jr. So if you guys are a fan of this story, I highly recommend Daredevil by Innocenti and John Romita Jr. because it's great stuff. So the thing I like about her is that she doesn't write like anyone else because she didn't grow up reading comics. So, all these Spidey comics that we review, the one thing they all have in common is they're written by guys that grew up worshipping Stan Lee and worshipping Roy Thomas. So they all kind of have the same voice. This is completely different. And even just the subplot of a girl knocking on the wall, right? On the other side of the wall of the apartment building. That's something, you've never really seen in a typical Marvel comic at this time. So I thought that was really cool. I thought this issue was really interesting at the very least. I don't think it was perfect, but I thought it was really good. Bex Luthor, what did you think of this one?
Oh man, I was a big fan. This is actually the first one that I read out of the 4, so it's very disappointing to go down from there.
Okay.
But I really enjoy like I think it was Michelle was saying that she loved the art of the robots, like the little Boston Dynamics dog robot things. I love that. It's so interesting and different and clever, and the fact that they talk to each other, it's cute and it's funny in like a slapstick comedy way that we don't see too much in like a written format. I really enjoyed it. And then obviously whoever is drawing Spider-Man thinks Spider-Man is the hottest hunk on the planet, and I have to agree. I love this art. I am obsessed with how this person draws Spider-Man, and not just because of what is it, page 8?
Or page 4, or page 23.
Which is the one where he's like just standing in the doorway?
Oh, is it the one where he's taking his clothes off after a long day of crime fighting?
No, it was page 24 where he's just so jacked.
Oh.
And sometimes I'm like, why does Peter Parker have all these girl issues? And then you see something like that and you go, oh, never mind. Oh, yeah, no, I'd be stupid too. That's fine. No, I enjoyed it. The kid subplot was cute, and Peter actually getting to be himself a little bit again versus his Spider-Man persona. I always love that duality whenever they bring it up. It feels like a lot of times when we're reading these issues, it's just Spider-Man, and they forget that Peter Parker isn't just like the guy who's not wearing the suit when Peter's at home complaining. Like, he actually has a whole mess of interests and everything besides Spider-Man.
Right.
But yeah, I really did enjoy myself reading this one, and not just because I think the art's actually pretty beautiful, all things considered.
Well,
yeah. It just is so striking to me the way that he draws Spider-Man, so ripped,
right,
and lean at the same time.
Right.
It's great.
It's like this suit is actually the symbiote, because everything on him, it's like it's his skin. Yeah. It doesn't look like fabric on a human. This is like just Spider-Man's skin. And you can particularly see that on page, I think 8? It's later on. I should have wrote this down. But he's like, Spider-Man is holding like a piece of a robot, and his hand is jacked. It's on original page 32 in like the middle left panel. You can see every single muscle in his hand. Like, his fingers are jacked. It's like his suit just seems like it's his skin. And it's crazy. Yeah.
I think that's like kind of like the allure of also drawing superheroes, is that it's like you're drawing nudes, but you know, because their spandex is so tight, it's easier to draw nudes from what I've seen, and to draw like the way clothes hang on people's bodies is like harder than just drawing nudes. And most people learn art, they draw the poses and the figures first, and then they move to like you know, stuff hanging off them. So I always think of it, it's like kind of weird that basically everybody's naked and they just like painted their skin a different color. Right. Like they're just, I mean, they're wearing skin tight spandex, and you can see every ripple of every muscle. If you saw that in real life, you'd be like, it's like everybody is like sexy Flanders, you know? Like, it's like I'm wearing nothing at all. Like, that's Spider-Man, like, all the time. Like, I don't know. And I mean, it even makes you think of, like, you know, when people cosplay in real life, they have to wear like special underwear so that you don't see, you know, the meat and two veg. So like, I don't know. I always find that kind of like this really sensual, interesting way of like reading comics. Like, you're like, the way they can draw people's bodies moving all these fun, interesting ways, because they're not encumbered by like clothing, really. Like, they don't have that holding them back.
But when you think about it in real life, it's like, you probably would be more comfortable, and this is just me speaking from my own experiences, is that I don't know that I would be comfortable wearing almost practically nothing, flying through the air. One, it's a little chilly up there. Like, the drafts that are created, it gets cold, and he's mostly fighting crime at night. And two, like, I like a hoodie. Whenever they do a live action, he's wearing a hoodie and like a beanie, a toque. to me, that's like the most realistic because that's what I would go out and fight crime in. Like Catwoman in her little jogging jumpsuit. Like that's the cutest. Goggles. That's what I would go and fight crime in. It's almost like this isn't is this technically the symbiote suit? Or is this
no, it's the one.
Felicia suit?
Yeah.
Because it's like she is intimately familiar with his body. Like, because the idea, like, I'm not sure if Michelle has read that one where she spends the evening making him a black suit, like hand sewing it. But this is the one because for some reason he stops wearing his black or his blue and red costume and opts to wear the one Felicia made him. So this is technically the suit. Maybe the traditional red and blue is like in the sink again. Right. But like, how tight is this outfit? Like that we can see the curvature of everything. On page 8, we get our first. I would give this 2 butts for the tally. Like, this is insane.
Hello.
And it's exactly what Michelle was saying. It's just a nude figure. It's exactly how an artist learns to draw, and then they just made him blue. Right.
Like,
I have no problem with this because the actual, like, it's accurate. The anatomy is accurate. Like, nothing is really exaggerated. Well, it's stylized, but for the most part, it's accurate. And it's like, this guy has 0.1% body fat. If that, because this suit is leaving nothing to the imagination. Like Sexy Flanders had more padding. This is the thinnest of layers. So I'm glad you guys liked the art. I thought you would hate it, but Tony Sammons actually, he did some. He came in. He did some G.I. Joe in the mid '80s, and then he did a series called Dakota North, which was a private investigation. What's that? Sorry, I was gonna say Dakota North. This sounds like a porn star.
Well, no, she's actually a private. It was the weirdest thing. She was a private investigator in the Marvel universe with no powers, no connection to any other Marvel superheroes. The series lasted 5 issues. It was canceled. I think she was brought back in one of the Netflix series or something. But anyway, it's a really good series if you ever get a chance to check it out. Okay. So I already talked about Innocenti or Innocenti. I don't want to judge anyone by their looks, but it's important to point out that Innocenti is cute as fuck. Not that it matters, but she is really cute. And her writing style, like I said, is completely unique in this era. Don't worry, I'm sending you a link right now. You don't have to Google it. But anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like, but are you sending us a picture from like 1980s? Or are you sending us a picture from like yesterday?
Oh no,
1980s.
She's still cute, but she was obviously cuter in 1985. Let's be honest with ourselves. But she still looks great now, of course. Anyway, the point is that she's talented, right? She also went on to write Catwoman in I believe it was the New 52 era. She did some work on Vertigo. She's done all kinds of stuff. She's still around. She's still doing stuff. So definitely check out her work. Like I said, Daredevil, you gotta read Daredevil. She's not like anyone else. Like I said, she doesn't come from a comics background. So, and guess what, guys? I don't want to jump the gun, but we're gonna be reviewing her long shot series next week that she did with Art Adams. There you go. There's gonna be more Innocenti next week. So, so I guess we can all agree that we recommend this issue. It's a standalone, done-in-one Spidey story. You don't need to read anything else. There's no references to other subplots. You can pick this up. You can read it. You can understand it. You don't need to read Secret Wars, right? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So I definitely recommend this issue. Josh, what about you?
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite of this week. I want to build one of these robots. I love it. I love them.
It's a good thing you have that 3D printer. Set that thing to work.
I might look to see if I can find a model. If not, I might have to get to work.
Okay, Michelle, do you recommend it?
Oh, definitely, yeah. It was my favorite one.
Awesome. All right, Bex Luther.
Why did you just write hot in the chat?
Oh, sorry, I was talking about something else. Anyway.
It's particularly warm in his house, Becca.
Not to just call you out straight up, but I was like, what does he mean? What is he talking about?
Nothing to do with this
absolutely
comic.
recommend it. Also, is nobody else gonna point out the fact that the first panel of this is just a big robot dong?
Wait,
Of-
what?
Or am I just weird?
Where?
I thought
Page-
that was his butt.
Page 1?
Oh.
But yeah, I guess so.
Big ro-
Oh,
I mean-
yeah. Oh. I don't know what that is.
Look, there's a big robot dong, and he ties up almost naked Spider-Man. Like, hell, man, no wonder half the
Holding
comic
a
book nerds I know are
He's holding a string of pearls.
yeah,
I mean, they all are.
clutching them. Clutch to your innocence, Peter. But too bad the robot's got you tied up. No wonder half of my comic book friends are either gay or kinky or both. Yeah, read it. No, it was good. It was cute. It was hot. Read it.
All right. G.I. Jolie, what do you think?
I mean, right now is probably a bad time to bring up the fact that, like, there are some weird things about this issue, but there were, like, some really questionable, one, no kid wearing a police shirt should be wearing a police shirt if he's saying, let's beat the skin on bones off of this nerd.
That's true.
You don't deserve it. That really bothered me. Also, did anyone find it strange that the robot, the second suit that he built, one, that the kid built this in his house, it had jet propulsion in the feet, right? But it's like, you know what? Peter Parker built web shooters. Maybe this kid has like an engineer father. Who knows? Also, it gave the grifter the ability to speak in accents, which was kind of offensive at one point and then really weird in another. Like Shakespeare, Westerns, and then he had like a weird Asian accent. I always complain about how they write an accent into the dialogue.
Right.
This is one of those times where it's double weird. Because why is that a power that he gets inside a robot suit? I don't understand. Oh,
Is it messing with his his brain?
who knows? Also, it's got like a Gatling gun arm. Where did he get that in 1985?
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
So, I don't know.
This young boy has a military contract.
I mean, you can start as early as 16, right, Michelle? 15?
Well, you can in the States, like, you can do delayed enlistment, which is actually what I did. I was 17, and then I had to have your parent has to sign up with you, and then like when you turn 18 is when you go to basic training.
Oh.
I was like 17 and a half when I signed up.
So when did they put an assault rifle in your arms?
I didn't start shooting maybe like actual like stuff like shooting at the range wasn't until I was like out of basic training, and then I had to get trained because we were deploying. Mm-hmm. So like a year after I got out.
Okay, so 18
we had
ish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Then every year we had to like qualify, and I'll just say I was like the worst. I was terrible, and it was like loud and smelly, and I don't like guns, and they made you clean them, and I never could like get it back together quite right. So I'm like, well, God, if I ever had to clean my gun in real life, like it would just never work again after that one time, because like I could never put it back together quite right ever. I was like the worst soldier ever. That's why I got out. I was like, y'all, I need to be doing, I still do the same job I did. I was an air traffic controller when I was in the military too. So it transferred 1-to-1 when I got out, thank goodness.
Yeah, you'd be like Justin Bieber, who doesn't wear the same pair of underwear ever. It's like you need a new gun every single time you need a gun.
Yeah. I would just have to like throw it in the dumpster. Like, well, get new gun.
Time to get a new one.
Now we know where he got it from.
Right? So if he followed that trajectory, 18. This kid could possibly be 18.
Listen,
Okay.
Tony Stark was able to build his suit in a cave with a box of scraps.
Yeah, but like nuclear weapons scraps.
That's my Jeff Bridges impression. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's a cave in Iraq. Don't they know that
Right.
all caves in Iraq have like those things in it? Anyway,
Where were we?
recommendations.
I think we were recommending.
We were criticizing capitalism and the war machine that is our society.
So if it weren't for those weird imperfections, yeah, of course I recommend it. I feel like he drew every single panel and then drew Spider-Man into them and then drew everything else around it, which is amazing. I enjoy it. Please check out page 8. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So
there's
we
like
all love
50 bets.
Okay. So we all love Innocenti. We all love Tony Sammons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, awesome. Okay.
I just love Spider-Man's butt.
All right. So on that note, Michelle, tell us where we can follow you if we want to follow you on social media.
If you want to follow me on Facebook, you can. Michelle Kistner, Kisner. I'm also on Instagram under Robot Cookie. My Instagram, I mostly just post pictures and like movie hauls, what I'm reading, comics, stuff like that.
Food.
And yeah, I post food a lot. That's pretty much it. I'm also, if like any film people, nerds are listening, I'm on Letterboxd, which is like another film review site, so you can follow me on there. That's pretty much it. I'm not on Twitter because I hate Twitter. So
I hate Twitter
I'm not
too. Awesome.
So Facebook, Instagram, and Letterboxd.
Sweet. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on again. We'll be sure to be, keep up with you on Movie Sleuth and everything else. Yeah, for sure. And we also want to thank Bex Luthor and G.I. Jolie for joining us as usual.
Are you sure you want to do that? Because it's the more we bring up butts, the more you sound like you're regretting letting us.
No, I love it. I love the conversation about butts. It's great. It's awesome.
Sometimes it's not men's butts. Sometimes we talk about girl butts.
Once in a while. Once in a blue moon.
Reading Spider-Man. I get it. Oh, I get it.
Black Cat will be back one day. We'll be fine. What was I going to say? So yeah, next week we're going to be reviewing more Innocenti, Long Shot number 3 and 4, and Cloak and Dagger number 3, and our guest will be the co-host of Full Volume, Brent.
Oh,
Harvey Brent is going to be joining us. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So be sure to tune in.
Jolie?
She never knows.
I like to keep it a secret. Anyway, Josh, you can take it from there.
yeah, we also want to thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. It really helps when you leave us a review over on Apple Podcasts, or you could drop us a line on Twitter at HCTSpidercast. Please let us know what you guys think about the podcast and the issues we're talking about. We really, really want to keep that comics conversation going.
That's right. So until next Monday, Spider friends, go for it!